Hello and welcome to another question and answer on the truth about hemorrhoids. Today's question comes from Amy. She writes, Mr. McMullen, I went in to see my general doctor last week for my yearly physical, and she told me that I have a small external hemorrhoid, but that it's not much to worry about. Could you tell me what that is exactly and how I got them, as I'm only 22 years old, and should I worry about it? Amy, hemorrhoids are swollen veins located in the lower rectum or anus. Each of us have veins around the anus that tend to stretch when they're put under a lot of pressure, somewhat like varicose veins do in the legs. When these veins swell, that's when we call them hemorrhoids. One set of veins is on the inside of the rectum, or internal, and the other set of veins is under the skin around the outside of the anus, or external, and that's what you're dealing with now, a swelling of those veins. Depending on the location and severity, symptoms can include pain, inflammation, itching, and a feeling of fullness or of that stretching following a bowel movement. Internal hemorrhoids develop inside the rectum. Now, these are the ones that usually cause the bleeding. As long as they stay inside, they don't typically cause pain. It's when they start to prolapse or really start to stretch, and then when we have a bowel movement, they get pushed outside of the rectum during a bowel movement. That's when the real pain begins. Additionally, with internal hemorrhoids, that's when we see the bright red blood on the stool or on the tissue paper. Hemorrhoids are also known as piles, and they are naturally a necessary part of the rectum, ironically enough. They're the cushions, the cushions of muscle that close together and close off that rectum until we have a movement and sit on the toilet, and then we release the pressure on them, and then we have our bowel movement. So as a rule, they don't cause any pain or bleeding. However, when those veins become swollen, like we've talked about, that's when we have a problem. Now, you ask what causes that, and it's ironic because nobody knows exactly why or how this happens. But we do know what some of the factors that contribute to the pressure that will eventually cause the swollen hemorrhoids are. And some of those are straining to move your bowels, sitting too long on the toilet. It happens naturally with the aging process. That's why so many people have hemorrhoids. Chronic constipation and diarrhea will cause hemorrhoids. Hereditary or other factors also play a role, such as pregnancy, obesity, and liver disease. Now, one thing to keep in mind, because you asked, should I worry about them? And your doctor said no. Well, one thing you want to keep in mind is that the longer you have swollen hemorrhoids, the greater chance of them becoming progressively more painful to live with. Probably, since this is just developed, there's not a whole lot of pain, maybe a little bit of itching. But typically, when you have swollen external hemorrhoids, it's an indication that you have some problem with internal hemorrhoids as well. And those should be repaired as soon as possible. And ironically, 5 years ago when I noticed that I was developing hemorrhoids, and I went, same situation, I was with my general practitioner doing a physical, and he said, is there anything else? And I said, well, I have this problem with hemorrhoids. And he took a look at it and said, it's not that big a deal. And of course, a couple of years go by and they continue to get worse and worse and worse, and then I have to have a complete surgical removal of those hemorrhoids. So you want to get in to see a certified colorectal surgeon as soon as you can to see exactly what the extent is of the hemorrhoids, and then he or she can recommend treatment based on that. If I had gone in and taken that advice and gone into a colorectal surgeon 5 years ago, I probably would have had infrared treatment, and I would have foregone so many years of pain and agony. I can't even tell you. So, very important that you do that. So we thank you for the question. We thank all of you for tuning into The Truth About Hemorrhoids. And remember, if you have any questions, you can email them to us at hemorrhoidstruth@live.net, or you can go to our website, www.truthabouthemorrhoids.net, and submit a question there. Until next time, go get yourself fixed.